all too familiar, just as the routine of ending a year. Welcome back to the Sunshine State Rails. It's Monday, December 28th, 2020, just a few days before the year's end. And on word of a couple trains coming to this area of interest to us, we came out here for a short time to get them and go home. But I can tell you one thing, even if this is our last outing for the year, the situational irony of these two trains made for an awesome 2 hours of filming. We would show up to Plant City in desperate need of a restroom, so we made that happen, and as we pulled out 0709, the Plant City local, which switches customers around this area, was to head back south to Yeoman using the S-Line. And thanks to Max and his desire to see anything moving on these rails, we were able to make it down to the tracks just in the nick of time. For the record, this was not one of our trains of interest today, but it was still cool to see, although this train would meet one of our trains of interest down at Valrico Siding. Back to this spot up here at Martin Luther King Boulevard, you can see just across the diamond that there is a northbound signal for a northbound train. And although you can't see it, the signal right next to us here was a solid red, telling whatever train was coming that he could not go anywhere. The dispatcher was to hold him right around the corner at Market for Amtrak 91 coming out of Tampa. As crazy as it is, these Amtrak trains get priority across that diamond even before they've left Tampa Union Station. And that was just the case today. The Plant City platform had almost a full house today, rail fans of all ages, and even my buddy Chase, who I didn't even know was there, is somewhere up there. With Amtrak clearing the diamond, the signal right next to us immediately came to a high green, telling the train coming north that they could proceed at max authorized speed. Alright, I'm gonna quit acting like I don't know what this train is, considering I knew, obviously, before we had even come out here. Coming north out of Tampa was K42226, empty ethanol tanks out of Tampa's gasoline terminal port, headed back north to Bensenville, Illinois for handoff back to the Canadian Pacific. And since we were lucky enough to have this train leave at a decent hour, I might as well let the lash-up be a surprise for those of you who haven't seen it. Not too bad for a K422 these days. The lash-up sounded a lot more fun a couple days ago, when from what we knew that BNSF SD70 was to be the leader northbound, but either crew preference or local use swung the engines the other way around. But either way, I wasn't about to complain. There was another surprise yet to come, so we stuck to it. Out of Plant City we dashed onto State Road 39 to follow the train roughly a mile northward. Surprisingly enough, by the time we made it down to the Oak Lawn Cemetery, gates were down, but we were well ahead of the train, as K42226 called a medium approach from the main to the siding, not something often heard at South End Plant City. But they weren't lying. The empty ethanol train was to go into the hole at Plant City siding, not often used for meets, but since night siding a few miles north was blocked by a work train, this again was their only option. So we hopped on north a little bit to East Terrace Drive to catch 422 again. Without their opposing train in sight yet, K422 can only glide down the hill as slow as permissible down to their stop signal at the north end, only about 2,000 feet north of here. Also, a little fun fact while we wait, remember those 3 big white boxcars on the end of 0709's train this morning? Well, where we're at right now is where the spur to the customer which receives those cars originates. That was the track veering off to the left in the shot just prior to this one. This road is also the access to that business as well as a couple others, soon to be accessible by no one, as K422 glides to a solid stop. Oh, wait, I think I see something down there. There's our opposing train. A southbound unit train headed for Tampa, this being another unit train of ethanol tankers. The only difference is that this one is about twice as heavy. With loaded ethanol tanks coming down from Bensenville, Illinois, K42325 would be K422's first meet at Plant City Siding, coming up the hill with 3 more BNSF motors pulling. Well, I can't definitively say that I've ever had that happen to me before. Well, we had one more shot in mind. We skedaddled back down to Plant City and got down to the tracks with just about 20 seconds to spare. Something pretty odd about this specific K423's run is that instead of taking a straight shot south from Chicago through, say, Kentucky or Indiana, he took a very fortuitous routing that took him through Virginia and the Carolinas, this all being due to the bombing in Nashville, Tennessee. As a result, it took this train an extra week to get down here from when it left Chicago, but from a railfan perspective, I can't exactly complain. After everything that happened along this train's journey, the timing worked out exactly to where it met K422 right here in our hometown. I shouldn't say hometown because I don't live here, but you know what I mean. We frequent this area enough to call it such. But the important thing is that the train, after its multi-day extended run through Christmas, made it down here safe and sound, and in one piece, considering the hazardous materials it's hauling. And with the train clearing our frequented town, that marks the end of this video and possibly the last train I see for 2020 out here. this won't be my last video for 2020. I've got a pretty big end of the year video in the works right now. That'll go up on the last day of the year. So be sure to stay tuned for that because I am working pretty hard on it. And whether before then or next year, I'll see y'all out there somewhere, sometime, on the Sunshine State Rails.